Alright, inmendham video. Free will, I guess, sort of, but I don't really like that subject, so I don't think I'll call it that. But I probably will, just because it's plain enough. And it might have something to do with the problems with this subject, I don't know. Just curious, the last video I was quite satisfied with it, and the ratings are pretty poor, and the comments are pretty, you know, disconnected. Um, but that, whatever. I don't know why it's so difficult for people to accept this idea that the universe is a mechanical process and we're just cause and effect machines, and we don't do anything purely creative. I mean, that's why we have 100 billion neurons. It's because the brain is making whatever this thing you call your will is. Your brain is making it with all of those neurons. All of these neurons are creating my personality. I'm not doing it. The brain is doing it. And it's doing it by mechanical rules. Input, output. It's a computer. It's a machine. We're just robots. Yes, really fancy ones. They can do things like this. They're fancy robots, but they're not anything else but a robot. So I guess I'll read some of this video. The mystic thought this was perfect, and I would argue, well, no, it's not perfect. It was okay up to like item 7, and then it goes completely south. And you're saying, I don't know, I can't for the life of me understand why these people draw this weird conclusion that once they've identified themselves as robots, nothing matters. I just don't understand. It still all matters. You still have to go vote. You still have to pay your taxes or you go to jail. Everything matters. And it might even matter even more if you recognize that every time you waste somebody else's time, it's a real waste. They could have done something better with their time, perhaps, and they could have won the lottery or something because they bought a lottery ticket. But then somebody else would have lost the lottery, and so that doesn't win anyway. But things could have been different. And anytime you waste anything, you're wasting. And the waste could be real in terms of it's compromising somebody's comfort somewhere. Now, some waste doesn't matter, maybe. The extra wax on the railings of the yacht, maybe that doesn't cost any human welfare or lives, but who knows. Clearly the labor does, because that labor could be devoted to some more constructive thing. But I mean, everything matters. This idea that nothing matters when you recognize that, oh yes, we're subjected to these in this incredible state of consciousness and this capacity to be literally, functionally tortured with horrible sensations. And they draw the conclusion that, oh, because it's robots having horrible sensations, somehow it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. No, it matters. It matters just the same whether they're robots suffering or they're humans suffering. It's the same thing. Watch Blade Runner or something. It doesn't matter. I mean, fuck. So he cites all the Schopenhauer, all this other bullshit. And it's like, who cares about all this name-droppy shit too? I'm so sick of that. But anyway. Getting to the point. So I'll read some of these just because they're not terrible statements until they get to this silly part at the end, and I'll play his video and just point out how I don't know how you draw that weirdo, strange, bizarre conclusion. How does it not matter? How does knowing I'm a robot, just one of the many, that we're all stuck in this together, so to speak, we're all frickin' robots, we're all stuck with trying to make the world around us work, and hopefully more than just the world around us work better. How does knowing that make me, why should that knowledge make me think what I feel doesn't matter and what they feel doesn't matter? If anything, it should make me even more intensely concerned that what we say to each other and what we talk about matters even more. because what we say, what we think, what we say, what we do, all of those cause and effect chains will dictate the outcome, the effect. We're part of the cause and effect, and if we're watching ourselves do something that's going to create nothing as an effect, or no improvement, or fix nothing, then we should know that, oh, not fixing, wow, nothing matters, I won't change the flat tire. You know, that's not going to work. I can know that's not going to work. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't get it. But I don't get, people are just really, there's a point where you just say, yeah, this is too simple for all of this bullshit that people go through. I don't understand where it comes from, but yeah, it's like everybody is a religious kook, and they just can't let go of this notion that we're doing something special when we're just machines built to feed on the surface of a planet, to eat energy and consume it, so we can lay eggs that'll eat energy and consume it and lay eggs, and that's all we're doing here, okay, in terms of why we are here. And this fantastically bizarre advancement in our function, which allows us to see that we're gamed, that's what we're doing. We're just doing some stupid thing. We're playing, hopscotch or tic-tac-toe. We're playing this simple, stupid game. And yeah, we're capable of so much more. And we should find it a necessary thing to talk about. What do we do about that? Because yeah, we're way too smart to play dumb games. That matters. It matters. Smart feeling things shouldn't be playing stupid games. They should play a smart game. The smart game is to fix what we know is broken. And what we know is broken is wasting suffering. And it's just happening all around us all the time. And that should be stopped by us recognizing it. That's one of the causes and effects, is recognition. And then that should have the cause and effect chain should take that recognition to its logical conclusion, which is, oh, it's broken, well, let's fix it. Fuck. Anyway, you are part of the universal cause and effect process. So yes, everybody should be able to get that one. I mean, it's just everything you are, everything that happens to you is all part of what the brain is collecting. And if you were asleep for 10 years, you wouldn't be collecting anything. I mean, if you don't go to high school, you don't learn. I mean, these are just facts. Why pretend that it's happened some other way than you are affected? You are made by your circumstances. As creatures, we are cause blind to a large extent. We are our effect. So, yeah, we can't see the detail that created us, and we can't see the detail of the world we're interacting in. So yes, it's very hard to see, to diagram, to procrastinate about what will be, or what we could be, or what we can know what we should be. Okay, so what we exactly can do, we can't really know for sure. What's possible, what's impossible, we can't answer those questions. So we're just stuck with the simple diagram of, well, what do I know I can do, and what direction is the right way for me to be making effects? Should I try to make good effects, or should I try to make bad effects? And I think those answers are really simple. What effects are more likely to be constructive? Bad effects, selfish, malicious effects, or thoughtful, well-intended, and well thought out effects? That's not very difficult. So anyway, every thought, desire, emotion you have is caused by universal processes. It's taking it a little bit too far, I would argue, of which you are an inseparable part. Obviously, some of the processes are almost so distant from each other they can't possibly communicate. because their energy can't get to each other in any meaningful way. The amount of starlight that hits us from galaxies far, far away is so minute that we have to collect it over time because it's so small an amount. We have to move the telescope and do a lot of stuff over a long period of time to actually collect a couple of photons coming from it. So, you know, that those are doing limited amounts of cause is being perpetrated by every universal process. So that's just going a little bit far. But the idea is that the biosystem does have a regime, and you could argue that when, like, the Homo sapiens split out of Europe and ended up in North America and then re-met each other, you know, 20,000 years later, they didn't recognize, you know, that they were the same organism 20,000 years ago. But that was a fact. And so there's, you know, this is, yes, there's process that creates our identity. The American Indians were Indians. They weren't Europeans. And they weren't Europeans because they were in a different environment. And it was one mechanism. The physical mechanisms were deciding that. Alright, anyway. So this part's a little wishy-washy too. You have no self. I mean, it's just kind of silly to say that consciousness doesn't happen in individual clumps. It happens in individual clumps. It's just stupid to think anything else. So what is the implication of that? You have no self. Clearly, I'm one computer that's doing one processing, one set of programs, running one kind of operating system, and the other ones are all running their own. So that they're clearly individual manifestations of the function. And yes, they're connected, but loosely connected, not intimately connected. So, you know, it's just, you know, so yeah, even number 4 is a little bit flawed here. You have no self. I mean, the idea that we're not individual feeling machines, we are. Now, the fact is we're in a system where all of our interactions will affect each other. We will change each other's course of life, just in incidental ways. If you're in a relationship with somebody, it means that if you didn't exist, they would have been in a relationship with somebody else. They would have had a whole different life. Those are just facts. Alright, emotions you have is caused by universal processes. So again, to blame it on the universe is being a little bit silly. But obviously, you can go back all the way to the first feeling organism and say there's a certain amount of variance that was possible, and that's it. There was, you know, this is what it, and the circumstances has already, the facts have already been written in the sense that it is all cause and effect. But the fact is we're all part of the cause and effect. So in saying that it's already been written, whether this video succeeds or fails in making the point it's trying to make, the fact that that's already written doesn't undo the fact that I need to make it for it to have an effect. Obviously. Of which you are an inseparable part. So yes, it's a good statement. Our function is essential, so it should just say that instead. I mean, just this idea that it's that they're going to turn this into you're inseparably controlled rather than you're inseparably controlling. And that's the part we can recognize. We can see when we're reading a bad script, because we do read it. We read our own script of our life, and we can see where we say, I just won't vote, or I won't give a damn, or I won't. We can see ourselves read the, you know, neglect script, or the it's too much trouble script, or the I couldn't be bothered script. And we can know that's a script not likely to solve a problem. So we can kind of know when we're reading shitty script. And we can, brain, cause and effect reaction can be, don't read shitty scripts. That's part of being intelligent. And being intelligent is part of the reality. It's an inseparable part of our reality, is the fact that we're informed and smart. We're not ignorant. And that means that our brains can process the circumstance and react to it. And they're not going to do that if you say it doesn't matter. For fuck's sake. Alright. I already did this self stuff. You are a slave to the universal cause and effect process. Yes. I am built by 10,000 years of civilization at the highest level, and by a bunch of crude natural process below that to make what humans have potential to do. But the fact is through that slavery, I have been educated. I do have vocabulary. I do have a capacity to reflexively react with statements of principle and ideal and just practical truth that not voting is stupid. Okay. Everything you think, feel, and do is a product of these processes. True enough, I'm the product of a bunch of experiences that informed me and informed my physiology and created some reflexive reactions. Some of them personal and visceral in terms of they're purely something coming out of my subjective emotional character, and some of them being purely intellectual and learning to use words and compile themes and ideas to structure sentences in an ordered list like this. These are all processes we're capable of doing, things we're capable of doing. And it matters if we get the list right or we get the list wrong. It matters. Anyway, these processes will bring pleasure and suffering. Pleasure when your desires are fulfilled and pain otherwise. Otherwise, is the key thing is you will relieve yourself of some tensions or aggravations. But yes, I think it's all negative, frankly, and the positive is just the relief of the negative. Alright. Struggling against or objecting to these processes is just part of the process. To say it's just part of the process is to understate the value of the function, because the function is a value function. So we've had imposed upon us this capacity to create value by having sensations, and that capacity has in itself value. Being able to manifest value, to have opinions based on pains and pleasures, is part of the process. It's not a just process, it's a real process. And in fighting for our own comfort through intelligence, we are just merely understanding that there's a bigger comfort that needs to be achieved, and rationally you use your brain to achieve that comfort. And even if that's something we're a slave to, even if we weren't, even if you somehow could create something independent of cause and effect that could feel, that same agenda would be the rational course. So even though it's an objective imposed by slavery to the mechanics, it's perfectly rational. Minimize pain. I mean, it's not at all complicated. So yes, struggling against it, that is, struggling against having the pain, struggling against the mechanisms that will impose punishment on you, is part of the process. And part of the process of being intelligent is just being able to recognize that your pain isn't special pain, that all the pain-feeling machines have the same need to not be feeling pain. Really simple. Staggeringly simple. Alright, 8. So this is where it really starts going south. Total acceptance of our slavery is freedom, since we identify it with the whole, which is itself unconditioned. Can't possibly mean anything. I don't know what that's saying. So anyway, it just means nothing to me, obviously. Total acceptance of our slavery is freedom. Now I'd say recognizing that we are cogs in the machine, and that our cog has to do its part or the machine fails. That's a freedom from failure. You want freedom from being a useless sack of shit. The freedom is knowledge that that's exactly what you're doing. You're behaving like a useless sack of shit. And if you want to be better than a useless sack of shit, the freedom to do better is in your recognition that the only way you do better is by doing better. And the only way you do better is by thinking better and knowing better. And that's something we all can do. It's all right there within your grasp to know the difference between being a fucking asshole and doing the best you can. You can see the difference. You can see it right on the script you're reading when you're being an asshole. Since we identify with the whole, which is itself unconditioned. So the whole is conditioned, though. The whole has been conditioned through the whole process of evolution to get to a point where it can do vocabulary, create lots of words, and give those words meaning, and then be able to use them to show and illustrate concepts. That's a kind of conditioning. That's a kind of evolution. Our intelligence has evolved just like our physical structure did. And our intelligence has evolved to a point where now we can recognize meaning. And you idiots are sitting there saying, there isn't any. It's so fucking stupid. Alright, total acceptance. I mean, the lion can't help but ignore the pain he causes because he can't understand it. We can. And you're saying, don't bother. I mean, it's just too fucking stupid. Alright, total acceptance can only come through realizing we do not exist, which is just, I mean, there's a period there. Total acceptance can only come through realizing we do not exist. If we didn't exist, then there wouldn't be sentience in the universe. There's only one part of the universe that has it. We're the only things important in the entire universe. Just the fact. The rest of the universe can literally go to hell and it wouldn't matter because it can't be tortured. I mean, it just amazes me that they can get, they can basically do, 7 things correct, and then all of a sudden they can't do anything right. Alright, there is no self. So again, this idea that somehow doing something completely idiotic, which is not recognizing that I am a clump of consciousness, and I have definite, real distance and separation, not immunity. I'm not insulated from the rest of the world. The rest of the world just doesn't have its fingers actually in my consciousness. And that the strings between our consciousnesses are really, really weak. And the only thing we have are these fucking words. This is the only way we can fuck with each other's consciousness. And here you are with these power, the word power, and you're saying things like, it doesn't matter. That's what you're doing with your word power, is saying, it doesn't matter. You don't understand how power and the idea of not matter don't go together well at all? That you're making people powerless with words like it doesn't matter? You're stealing their power. You're stealing the power of the evolution of intelligence. It's not going to evolve if you say it doesn't matter. It's the wrong meme, retards. Alright, so that's as far as you can see on the screen. So we'll just play the end of his video here. I did speed it up, because he does talk a little slow. So let's just play the end and suffer through it. Maybe I'll go a little earlier just for fun, since this didn't take as long as I thought it would. Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is that if you are struggling or objecting to the way life is, or the way life unfolds, or the way life is for you, then you are clearly, that is caused. And you are just...
Right. It's caused by the fact that, yes, you are through your maturation, you weren't given the set of tools psychologically that make you capable of not being distracted by the horror or something. It's like some people could be doctors because they get perfectly comfortable cutting shit open and playing with their guts and watching blood spurt out and stuff, and other people faint, you know. It's not because the doctor is some kind of special person and the person who faints is some kind of especially not special person. It's just that they have a different sensibilities and they have different maturating circumstances that makes one person sensitive and one person insensitive to the problem. It's like something like vertigo. I've had some trouble with vertigo in the last 15 years, and I never had any problem with heights. And all of a sudden it just showed up. And it's really hard to psychologically figure out where it came from and why all of a sudden my cause and effect mechanism is saying heights are a problem somehow. And it might have been that, you know, a couple of times when I was doing roofing, I, you know, just slip and, whoa, almost fall off a roof. And maybe over time that rolled around in my head and created a problem. And, you know, now if I go on a roof, I'm doomed because I, you know, get so dizzy I can't function. You know, just cling to the ladder for life. You know, just things that I never had that problem. And so it's just, I'm just saying. So yes, there's a cause and effect for it. It happened through a mechanism inside my psychology. There's reasons why it exists. Physical reasons. Alright? There's an explanation. There's a trail of causes that might have more than one element to them. But I'm just, so clearly, that's what makes us. But we're clearly made, and we go through the process. See, another thing they're kind of implying is there's no point in having any self-respect or any self-vanity. And in some respects, okay, some of the stuff is a little bit tacky, where you feel good about being more attractive than somebody else, having prettier eyes or something. And that's kind of bullshit, because yeah, you really didn't do anything to earn that. But you do earn some of your knowledge, in the sense you read books you didn't really enjoy, or, you know, you went to college for years and didn't want to do it, didn't enjoy it, it was hard work, and you gain the skills through that process. So there's some things we do as individuals that do make us more capable or skilled, and they do come at a price where it wasn't fun. And we shouldn't say the universe did it, because in fact the universe did it through the unpleasantness the self had to endure, and it had to endure it willfully, with full knowledge. It had to eat it, you know, on purpose. And so it's like somebody earning their retirement. You do earn it. You know, people put in their 40 years, they earn it.
Part of this cause and effect process. There's nothing in there that is profound. The idea of profundity is absurd, really.
Okay, so the idea of profundity isn't absurd. It's just kind of a silly thing. Like I said, I think it's incredibly profound, the huge difference between a a rock and a human being. Profound difference. Profound difference between a non-sentient, non-feeling thing and a feeling thing. Profound difference. Just silly not to think it isn't a word, a useful word. It's a useful word.
So, point 8. Total acceptance of our slavery is freedom. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm just doing that to be smart, but I'm not. It's like,
No, it sounds like crap. It just sounds like absolute crap. It's if you're going to turn it the way you're turning it. So I'm saying yes. I'm saying it, recognizing that you're a programmed machine, and the programs are just made out of these idea things, and you validating an idea, that is, the idea comes in and you don't butcher it, you don't mistreat it. Somebody makes a suggestion, a statement, oh gee, everything's so, I have to be so careful about trying to come up with some kind of statement that everybody could agree. I could say, religion is stupid, but some people don't get that. Or some other, hardcore fact thing. But the truth is that, yes, knowledge of the fact that it's a machine that is gullible and that cheats, that has biases, to recognize that you're bigoted. These are all things that give you power over your bigotry. It gives you the power, once you've recognized it, to say, I'm looking out for that. And I now have a program that's going to stand up and say, whoa, no, you can't get away with that one. I'm going to object. So having programs that object, having some psychology that's willing to object, bits of you that are willing to stand up for a principle, is a good thing. And that power, that freedom comes with recognizing that that's the process. You actually do have to become your ideals for your ideals to mean anything.
actually true, because what happens is once you really understand that there's this cause and effect nexus, this whole big machine chugging along in time and space, then you
Right, but the only part of the big machine that matters are the individual clumps of consciousness. They're where all the value is created. So there's no value in any other part of the machine. The only value is in the little clumps of consciousness. So as long as you understand that, then this isn't so offensive. But to deny that is silly. The universe means nothing. The little clumps of consciousness is everything.
Start to think maybe just outside of your own tiny little needs and desires. If you want a good insight into that, then read.
Right, which is something you should have said. It would make it a little bit clearer. Is just to identify all the other clumps of consciousness as being just as in need of comfort as your clump. That a broken leg, the sensations of it, aren't improved by putting them in somebody else's brain. It doesn't mean that broken leg doesn't mean broken leg anymore. Headache isn't headache. No, it's the same sensations, and they're always bad sensations, and it just doesn't matter who's experiencing them. Torment is torment is torment is torment. And it's silly to play some kind of game like it matters more if it happens to you. You can feel like it matters more, but you can know better, and that's the freedom part. Knowing better.
Read Spinoza's Theological and Political Treatise. Chapter 16. Brilliant stuff. Maybe I'll do a whole podcast on that. Anyway, once we start to identify with the whole, and again, this isn't some touchy-feely boo-woo stuff. It's just the result of thinking this stuff out.
No, I say, but it's your conflicting statements don't mean anything. You say it doesn't matter, and then you say we should think certain ways, or we should feel certain ways, or we should identify with some kind of whole. Again, I don't think we should identify with wholes. We should identify with the fact that we should recognize that the individuals are subject to a vulnerability to be tortured, and that our purpose should be to find some way to fix it so we can minimize the amount of torture. To say identifying with a whole means in a sense of defending systems, or defending cultures, or defending ways of being. I don't think we have any obligation to defend any of that, or to empathize with any of that, or to identify as part of that. We should be identifying much of what human beings are doing as being the cause of the problem, not the solution.
You are part of a cause and effect matrix. It's not a word I like, but it is really a matrix of cause and effect. But the whole thing, the thing as a whole, is by necessity unconditioned.
By necessity unconditioned. I just don't. What is that? Some sort of unconditional love thing or something? What does that even mean? It's by itself unconditioned. It's completely vulnerable to our objection, to our perception that it's broken and it shouldn't be this way and we should fix it. Unconditioned. I just can't make any sense out of that.
Very hard to explain these things. You know, if you want to get a deep feel and understanding of this, and you have to study it for fucking years.
Yeah, I bullshit to that. I mean, all these, Schopenhauer, tons and tons of words, just words, and so few of them get to the point. Again, you've knocked it down to 9 points. They're pretty clear. Most of them are written well enough. Not complicated at all. We're robots that can feel. Feelings are valuable. We should rationally understand, just from our own personal experience, that it's good to have comfortable feelings and it's bad to have uncomfortable feelings, and we should do our best to cause there to be more comfort than discomfort. What's so complicated? What do I need to read to understand that? Who do I need to read to understand that? Not complicated.
15 minutes or 20 minutes on a podcast isn't going to do it.
I would agree. It'd probably take a little longer than that, but not much. It really shouldn't take more than a couple of hours at the most.
Anyway, so total acceptance of our slavery is freedom, since we identify with the whole, which is itself unconditioned.
Well, reading it again doesn't fix it, so I read it 3 times. I still can't make any sense out of it. What the fuck? Total acceptance of our slavery is freedom, since we identify with the whole, which it is itself unconditioned. What the hell does that which itself is unconditioned shit mean?
And then 9. Total acceptance can only come through realizing we do not exist as separate units.
Well, he didn't say that separate units thing. But regardless, it's clear we do exist as separate units, substantially exist as separate units, and we only have this really crappy method of really interacting through these words. It's our only thing we have. The only weapon, the only mechanism we have is we have to put a whole bunch of these stupid words together to try to get the other guy's brain in the right order so he can do the simple logic that, oh yeah, inheritance is a huge cheat. I get it. Yeah, nothing else in our culture is made out of inheritance. It's a silly way to decide who gets what. That we should have people earning it, and we should give it to people who deserved it. And falling out of vaginas has nothing to do with deserve. So yes, let's fix those things wherever we find them. Let's fix wherever the shit is happening that doesn't have anything where we can say, deserve has nothing to do with that. Then we should fix it. If it was happening in baseball, we'd fix it. If it was happening in soccer, we'd fix it. If it was happening in football, we'd fix it. Happening in the Olympics, we'd fix it. But we don't fix it in the real world with the most important game that's played. Bullshit on that.
Even at a physical level, you're breathing the air all the time. You ingest other creatures and make them part of yourself. You're taking in impressions all the time from the outside. The boundary between what you are and what you are not is actually fairly...
Again, it's a fairly substantial boundary. I'm sorry. The little bit of intimacy I get between me and the stuff that light reflects off of, it's a small amount of intimacy. It's a small amount of connection. I don't feel anything's pain in any real sense. I really don't. I can sense and I can imagine their pain, but I can't actually feel their pain. I don't feel other people's pain. I don't feel other people's of revulsion or attraction or whatever they're experiencing. So this notion that we're somehow intimately connected and we're not individual selves blocked off from each other, it's the biggest problem we have, is that I can't make you feel what I feel. I'd like you to feel my contempt. I'd like you to feel my nausea. I'd like you to feel it right through to your bones.
Fairly fluid. So, total acceptance can come only through realizing that you do not exist as a separate thing. There is no sub.
So again, it's just silly. I just don't know, why do I have to do that? Why is there some necessity for me to think there's no difference between a Democrat and a Republican, or there's no difference between an axe murderer and a cat petter? There's huge differences. They're individual machines that work at different kinds of functionality and different kinds of order and structure in their thinking. They have different levels of logical competence. These are different machines, not the same machine. They have something in common. They have a welfare stake that has to be respected. They have an ability to be tortured. And our only obligation to each other is to reduce the torture.
Once you realize that, then you get to what Emil Svaron clearly understood and realized.
I guess he's saying Emil Saron, or whatever is Caron. You know, the again, you know, whatever. Fine, read books by depressed people. It's okay with me, but I'm not too sure they actually understood completely what's contemptible about our existence. And the contemptible part is the sentient part. We're not the only ones slaves to this meat grinder. The meat is too.
That nothing matters. How can
amazing statement, right? So let's just play that again so we get right up to that big word.
Once you realize that, then you get to what Emil Svaron clearly understood and realized, that nothing matters. How can anything matter when you're not in control of anything?
Oh, just amazing. When we see, obviously, our control as we're watching ourselves live our lives and read our script, and we can see ourselves reading a shitty script. How can you, whoa, we don't have control. No, you don't have control over defining who you are, but to say that you can't see what you're reading? Of course you can. We can all see what we're reading as a script. We can all see what we just did, and we can analyze it and say, wow, that sucked. I mean, it's really easy to do. You can see yourself fail. I can watch myself fall down and say, gee, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, yeah, it's a cause and effect. There's a root there that caused me to trip. So what? There was a root that caused me to trip. That doesn't change the fact that I fell. And that it would have been better if I didn't fall, because falling means that I might get a fucking nail in my eye. I mean, shit. This is just so retarded. It doesn't matter.
So, he says, nothing matters. And me?
Yes, he says, well, fuck him. He's an idiot. Everything matters. That's the whole point. The point is all this stuff, all these little tiny things, just waving my hand, the fucking butterfly's wings flapping. Yes, it technically might give somebody cancer. It might cause somebody to fall off a pier. A little bit of extra breeze might blow them off the pier. Something might happen and they'll die in some worse way, or some worse fate, and some worse circumstance will take place, and more people will die in some horrible way prematurely and leave other people without resources, and then they'll have a bad life, and then their kids will be more uneducated, and then their culture falls apart, and then their roads don't get paved, and this doesn't get to happen. So yes, but it all matters. It's not that it doesn't matter, it fucking matters. Goddamn idiots.
a discovery, if ever there was one. And actually, this is from a document that somebody gave me. It's if I can read the title. It's Encounter with the Void. By
Yeah, well, it's all void bullshit. Oh, it's so anaconda-vod. Oh, this stupid void shit. There's no void. There's no void you have an encounter with. You have an encounter with the realization that we're programmed machines and we're playing a shitty game, okay? We're programmed to play a shit game. And you look at it and you say, well, damn it, I can fix that because I'm smart. Smart machines don't have to play stupid games, and smart machines can fix stupid games. So that's what we should fucking goddamn do. But why? Because it fucking matters. More torture, bad. Less torture, good. That's all. Fuck. Not complicated.
Emil Swan. Absolutely astonishing essay. And he goes on later in that.
Oh, astonishing. It's astonishing the brilliance of, oh, yes, it all doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I rape, I kill, I pillage. It doesn't matter. That would have happened anyway. No, it wouldn't have happened anyway. the pillaging doesn't happen until you do it, fucktard. And you can know it's wrong because it matters. I mean, shit.
In that very paragraph he says, there is no self. This we know.
Well, again, I don't know how you convert the concept that we're all just program machines running software into there's no individual machines and no meaning to how they function. Of course there is.
Well, most people don't know that. They hang on to the idea of self.
Yeah, and again, why does it matter to you? Why does destroying the self, what is the fucking point of it? I don't get it. I mean, I get, clearly it's somehow connected to this idea that I'll just be a loafer and suggest to everybody they be a selfish loafer because it doesn't matter. Don't go fight the Nazis because fuck it, who cares? Let them rape and pillage and eat Europe to pieces. Okay, and as long as they don't come here, fuck it, who cares? That's the right attitude. No, that's the wrong attitude, fuckhead. That will get you an effect that sucks. If you want to have effects that are good, you have to be part of the good cause. You have to be affected by matering. Oh, man.
Because it's frightening to think that basically you're part of a huge great fucking thing that just works the way it works.
No, it doesn't work the way it works. It works in a really controlled manner. Just like our evolution worked in a very controlled manner, okay, it kills tons of defective machines to create the best machine. Species go extinct. There's a method to the madness, and there's a certain method to the expansion of our intelligence, its evolution and growth. And part of the logic here is not to fuck up on simple facts like, yes, we're individual machines. We can see ourselves reading our programs, and we can recognize shitty programs from ones more likely to create something good. We can look at the programs, the scripts, and we can say, which one am I going to read? We can do that. We can put the scripts right in front of us, and our brain can choose. It can decide which one to read. Right in front of our faces. Shithead, who thinks it doesn't matter, or rational machine who wishes to fix broken things and make the world a better fucking place. And yes, it'll be cause and effect that has you pick the right one. But you're not going to pick the right one if you've forgotten how to look at the choices that actually do, as a fact, exist as possible futures. When you're looking at them, you don't know you already picked one. But you can certainly, you can already know, I'm not going to pick the one where I stick my finger in my ass and then put it in my nose. Okay, I'm not reading that script. You can know there's scripts you're not going to fucking read. And you can know the ones that are, oh yeah, these are in the realm of possibility. And all you're doing is engineering a way to put all your convenient scripts here, the ones that have me first, okay? And you're just saying, these ones that have something to do with obligations, all right, I'm going to pretend that cause and effect doesn't work. It's just evasions.
Has no particular regard for you. And as Spinoza says, humanity is but a speck.
Yes, right. The universe is stupid. We're smart. We're the things that can have regard. Okay, that matters. We're the things that can judge things, and our judgment can mean something because it's intelligent judgment. Yes, that's the way it works. The universe doesn't judge us. We should be judging the fucking universe. And the judgment should be, holy fuck, the DNA game? Really fucking dumb. Okay? Mass murder children to make super robots that play tic-tac-toe. Yeah, fuck doing that. It's really fucking dumb. We can do that. But we can't do it if we're sitting around going, nothing matters. Well, of course my feelings matter, and how comfortable I am matters, and how much, how many jelly donuts I get for dessert matters. But nothing else matters. I just hate you people.
In the whole of the universe. And the universe has its own laws and cause and effect mechanisms which have no regard for humanity.
And that has nothing to do with us, because we're the ones that can have regard. We're the ones that do that. We're the ones that can be the good caretakers, the good zookeepers. We're the one with the power to open the gates, close the gates, put in food, don't feed. We're the ones with all the mechanisms of control. Us. It all has to happen through us, okay? Yes, we don't make it up. We make it through the process of evolution, the process of knowledge growing. And we've gained enough knowledge to realize what we are, and then all we have to do is say, well, what role can we play? And we can figure out the obvious, good, bad, okay, suffering, comfort. We can figure out these simple things and say, yes, let's just maximize our capacity to comfort the afflicted. And the easiest way to do that is to quit making afflicted.
I've said many times that a couple of billion years from now, the sun will blow up and basically consume the earth, right?
Right, and that'll mean everything's just fine. That'll mean the bullet that went through Lincoln's head didn't go through Lincoln's head. It means that every woman that had breast surgery without anesthesia a couple hundred years ago, it didn't matter. All the women who died in childbirth, bleeding to death from hemorrhoid, none of that happened. No, none of the pain, none of the suffering, all the mice that ever got smashed in a trap and only half killed, none of that ever happened. No, it all did fucking happen. Doesn't the fucking sun get crashing, the earth crashing into the sun isn't going to fix the fucking blood footprint. It's not going to erase the suffering. The suffering doesn't exist as a material thing. You can't make it go away by breaking the matter. Oh, fuck, it happened. And the truth is that we're sitting here quite capable of making less of it happen, and you assholes are looking for fucking bizarre excuses to forget you're supposed to be intelligent enough to tell the difference between a shitty script and a good script.
So the Earth too has a limited lifetime. The whole thing is just one big evolving process, and we just happen to be around right here and now.
Yeah, it's not just happens. It's not just happens. It happened for specific reasons, and again, it happens that the only way we could have this conversation, we couldn't have it 20,000 years ago because we didn't have the language to have it. And so now we have the language. We've gone through this process of growing up and figuring out that certain things like slavery and beating kids and doing all kinds of stupid ass shit, raping your kids, it's all stupid. Don't do any of this shit. We figured out lots of things that are wrong and stupid and retarded. And here you are with this. You've reached a certain level of intelligence, and in my opinion, you're just fucking going back to sticking your fingers in your asses with this doesn't matter shit.
As I say, we're cause blind to a large extent. So I hope someone at least understands that you get freedom and a real life through accepting your slavery,
Again, a silly idea. You get freedom by rejecting it, by fighting it. And and the way we fix this thing is to recognize it's broken. You get free from your slavery by recognizing it's an unfairness, you didn't deserve it, and you fight to stop it. And you don't do that if you think it doesn't matter.
And realizing that that implies very much just a separate individual thing. You do not exist.
Again, another just silly thing to say. I don't even know why. I guess it's part of the religious thing that they have to shove that in there somehow. You don't exist when I'm sitting here existing. I mean, fuck. I mean, it's just like, it's like telling me I don't have 10 fingers. It's just, why are you telling me something so fucking idiotic? I don't exist. I'm not an individual brain. Yes, I am. You're just so full of shit. Oh, fuck. I mean, it's just, how to say this? I mean, clearly, if I invent a cure for cancer, let's say, and I have it inside my brain, if I don't communicate to anybody, it can't do anything. It can't cure any cancer, right? So clearly, it has to get out of my brain and into somebody else's brain and into somebody else's brain and into somebody else's brain for it to ever do anything in the world. So in that sense, our brains are connected. But let's not deny that I could just have a stroke after I could think of the cure for cancer and then I could die. So it was there. Now, here we are supposed to be all connected, and somehow you're never going to figure out, though, what was in my brain 10 minutes before I died. You're not going to be able to get the information. The information isn't just going to pop into your brains, because you didn't have the right recipe to cook it up in the first place, the right causes to cook it in the first place, to mix it. So I mean, this idea that we're one thing, we're not one thing, we're clearly not. And what the thing to recognize is that we have just such this thin little wire between us to communicate this, like using tin cans with a wire. It's so fucking crude a mechanism for me to be able to communicate what's in my brain to your brain. I have to do it in this Morse code, tedious process of trying to explain it to you. I mean, it sucks as a system. And to say, well, we're all connected. No. We're too unconnected. Fuck. So anyway, I think that's it.
There is no self.
Fuck you.
Happy note.
Fuck you. Stupid. Stupid. Retarded. A complete denial of obvious reality. There's clearly, consciousness is a self thing. It happens to selves. That's how it's been built by evolution. It happens to individual organisms. They don't share their consciousness. They don't sit there and woo 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 woo. I can woo woo woo. You get it? No, we don't do any of that. We don't have ESP. We don't have any of that shit. This is just such bullshit verbiage. It does the cause no good. So I just don't know what their angle is. Why would they bend it so fucking weird? Why would they go, robot, and then turn it into nothing matters? I mean, why would they do that? Why would they go individual feeling sentient organism, no self? I mean, why this bizarre turn? What the fuck is that? All right, anyway. I mean, the idea that we have a common enemy, which is I feel like shit. That's the common enemy. Feeling bad. That's the common enemy. Let's just say, okay, there's no personal enemies, let's say. There's only a common enemy. Some kind of rhetoric like that. But the way you're saying this is just so bad. Because people are just going to hear, oh, I don't have to do anything because nothing matters. That's what they're going to have. That's what they're going to hear. I don't have to look at the two scripts and say, this is the hard script, but it's the good script. This is the easy script, but yeah, it's going to, pollute the world and be, it's going to compromise other people's welfare, and I'm not going to worry about, I'm not even going to think about who my girlfriend could have been with and how much better he would have treated her. I'm not even going to think about shit like that. So you got two scripts, hard or easy, and they're going to choose the fucking easy one if you say it doesn't matter. Dumbass! Okay. That'll do, pig. Yes. So, I thought most of the people listening to my videos were already kind of get the idea that you really, if you don't understand that there's nothing to have a free will. You just have a brain. Your brain creates everything you do. It makes it. There's no you making anything. I just don't, I guess I've just heard the arguments, and I've been through it so many times. It's just like, how could anybody even have a problem accepting that? I have to try to remember back when I might have had some notion of, no, I'm me. I'm me. Which, but like I said, I wasn't that hard to convince that my me-ness is just a byproduct. I'm not me because me made me. I didn't pop into the world and say, I'm going to make a Gary. No, I just turned into one. The arguments are so simple. But anyway, yeah, I know, who wants to go over those arguments again? I mean, somebody's got to be pretty uncurious if they haven't heard the 7 million arguments against any notion of free will. I mean, Sam Harris's argument's pretty complete. Anyway, enough said. Till next time and such.